Welcome back to Bump Love. It's still the World Breastfeeding Week, and we're excited to still have Dr. Doreen Mazakpwe here. Now, the UN designates particular days, years, decades, even months to particular and pertinent issues that concern the society. And the reason for this is so that they can increase awareness and action around the world for these pertinent issues. My question for you, Dr. Doreen, is why exactly or where exactly did this World Breastfeeding Week come from, especially since it's something that's held so secret and kept within the dark, or kept, you know, it's such a private thing. Why did it come out? Like, why do we have to have an entire week celebrating breastfeeding?
So there is an organization called the World Advocacy for Baby Food Action. So it's called WABA. They are an international organization headquartered in Malaysia, and they have collaborations at all levels, so international, continental, regional, up to community levels. In Uganda, they actually have a representative called IBFAN, Uganda. And so there was a time when there was a paper called the Innocenti Declaration. They usually make these declarations based on where the meeting was held and things like that. So there is also something called the Global Strategy for Infant and Young. And this is where the protection, promotion and support for breastfeeding came out strongly. And I think it coincided with the time when there was aggressive marketing of baby foods. Yes. So that's all the way from infant formula to add-on milks or follow-on milks and baby foods, commercialized foods. And so they felt that women and families all over the world needed support at a higher level, where they could also influence how countries do things, policies, implementation of those policies, laws. And so this week, like you've said, is to raise awareness, put the lights on something that is very important. I often ask myself, if breastfeeding is that important, how come it's not being shouted from the rooftops? Yes. For those who are involved, and everyone is really involved. So every year there is a theme, and and probably like you mentioned, there is a theme for this year that is being focused on. So WABA also decided to link their themes to the Sustainable Development Goals. Yes. So each goal is linked to breastfeeding. You need to read how they link everything to, like, end hunger. I mean, they'll tell you end hunger. Babies would not be hungry if they were breastfed. Yeah. Yes. You know, end poverty. If our babies were breastfed, we would not have diseases, people dying and people would be more productive, and and all those things. So then so everything is linked to breastfeeding. Yeah.
Dr. Doreen, can you please explain to us what the focus for the 2020 theme really is?
Yes. So the theme, like Pumla had mentioned earlier on, is support breastfeeding for a healthier planet. Not a healthy planet, but a healthier one.
Healthier planet.
Yes, and the focus is on support, because from what we've discussed earlier on, a mother really needs support to initiate, establish. Everyone needs to support her, the workplace, church. And so for this year, we are saying support breastfeeding for a healthier planet. So the question will be, what on earth is the link between breastfeeding and a healthy planet? Yes. Isn't that the obvious question? Well, so when we look at a healthy planet, in short, we are looking at what resources does the planet offer us. So the common, the ones which most people use: land, water, air. Yes. And from these things, we are looking for food, to be sustained, for survival, and also to thrive. I usually don't like stopping at survival. It sounds so average and
to survive and thrive.
Yes. So your decision is climate smart, and the question is why. It is a natural source of food for any baby, except those who are not where it's contraindicated to breastfeed. But again, that's a very small percentage. So this baby is feeding their food is not being obtained from misuse or overuse of our natural resources.
Yes.
And so what the inputs we need are to have this mother well nourished, to have this mother safe. So talk about emergencies and situations like COVID, refugee situations and things like that. So we want this mother to be well nourished. So we need her to feed, we need her to live in, you know, comfortable housing based on what she can afford and all those things. Now, once those things are in place, then this mother should be able to breastfeed. But even those who are in dire situations can still breastfeed a baby. So that means that there is very little pressure on our natural resources. So meaning our planet is not being abused. Now, when you flip it to the other side and look at the alternatives to breastfeeding, usually involves dairy farming, whether it is or animals. So whether it is camel milk, goat milk, cow milk, you know, to produce. Let's talk about cow milk. For example, we say you're being too sophisticated. Let's talk about cow milk. So what does this cow have to do to produce milk for you? It needs to feed on grass. That's if it's freely fed, free range. If you're talking about commercial setting, which would be the case in order to meet the need for those who are not breastfeeding. So we need a lot of milk. So this cow we have to have not one cow, many cows. And then if we have to cook it, we are already using fuel.
Yes.
And then if we have to feed it to the baby, we will not have to, we are going to feed it to the baby. So we are feeding the baby. We are either going to use a bottle or a cup. Whereas if you think about the mother who is breastfeeding,
You don't have to.
all that is cut out.
Everything.
And there is something in nutrition called a food path. Food path means from where the food is produced to when it gets on your plate or in your mouth. How long is it? The shorter it is, the more nutritious for you and the better in so many ways.
Okay.
So we can see that breastfeeding has a very short food path. So you just come to the breast, no cooking, no serving in a certain utensil, none of that, no waste, except for the stool the baby is going to produce. And then when we have other complications of what they use and what, that's another story. But for the feeding part, you know, that is a very short food path. And so our natural resources are not put under as much pressure as you would if you're using alternatives. Now, when you talk about things like infant formula, so go through the process of our cow, get that milk, take it to the facility where they are going to process it from. You used you emitted gases, you know, and all those things. Then you got to the processing plant, and then you did all sorts of things to make this cow milk. Tried to make it look like breast milk because you're feeding an infant. So you removed the things from the cow milk which might be harmful to the baby. You went to the lab and made some other things, put them into the cow milk, dehydrated the cow milk, and then you usually got a tin, manufactured a tin, moved it to the facility. So this year we are also going very big on breastfeeding counselling at all levels. Whoever touches this mother when she gives birth, or even before she gives birth, needs to pass on a message that is supportive.
So in the case of lactating mothers or those who are going to be, where can they get this kind of information from? Because we've gathered a wealth of information from this particular show. As I said, I'm an old-time mom, but some things I didn't know about. Where can mothers go to get this information so we stop making these basic mistakes?
All right. So ideally, mothers are encouraged to touch base with health workers when they are pregnant, because research has shown that the decision to breastfeed is made very early, and the influence not to is also put in when they are still pregnant. So we want them to have contact with health workers when they are still pregnant. So antenatal visits should also double as classes, where these mothers are given more time to ask their questions. Some are worried about supply. Will I be able to breastfeed my baby well? My friend had sores. Will I have those issues? they need that kind of reassurance from the health workers. So the
Okay.
health workers are the ones also delivering them. So these things about early initiation of breastfeeding happen in the hospital. So we need them to touch base with those people when they've just given birth. So don't give birth from home. Have your baby in hospital.
Yes. Doreen, let me ask this, because I remember also on the exercise show, the lady mentioned that she was a nurse, but sometimes we don't get enough time. Do you think that we can be able to bridge the gap if health workers are given, I think they have the information, given enough time to sit with a mother and explain these issues to them?
Yes, that is possible. I have found, though, that there are challenges with our health system where a nurse is overwhelmed with numbers. And with my own consultation where I work, I sit with the mother for at least 30 minutes, and that's the lower end
Minimum,
of things.
yes.
And I'm explaining
Yes.
these things to a mother, whether it is the first child or the fourth.
Yes.
Also depending on her particular challenge at that time. So I don't want to give her too much information that she's overwhelmed. So I try to give enough information for that day or for the next days, and what they call anticipatory guidance. So when I know some things are coming and they'll disturb the mother, I give her that information. Okay. So that is before they give birth. So of course there is overload of information on Google and what, so you need to read, but you need to talk to someone. So this could be a peer support mother.
Yes.
So another mother who has a positive breastfeeding experience. You need to talk with that mother. And some of the places where you can find these mothers are on social media sites, support groups. There is something called breastfeeding self-efficacy, where a mother's confidence is built based on what she sees another mother doing. So if a mother has been able to see another mother breastfeeding and she's doing so well, something will click in her mind that I think I can also do it.
Yes.
You
But
called it
also
breastfeeding what?
Self-efficacy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is mainly before they give birth. So we also I teach breastfeeding classes, for example, to prepare the mother prenatally, to give her the theory part. Now when she gives birth, she needs the practical part. Breastfeeding theory and breastfeeding practicals can be worlds apart.
Okay.
Because I always tell them that this prop I'm using, the doll, is not crying, it's not hungry, it is not fussy. It doesn't have 4 kilos if you have a big baby, so you don't just hold it anyhow. And so the hands-on thing is also very important. And it has also been found through research that what mothers are taught in the hospital or what they are shown, when they go home, that's exactly what they do. They continue doing.
Okay.
Case in point is things like introducing formula in the hospital. When the mother goes home,
They'll continue.
it becomes like part of us. So, and most health workers don't tell them when this happens, stop. Or you only need to go to this point, then stop. The mother just goes home. So after they give birth, their services, I also provide those services, where we can either do a hospital visit, so we come to the hospital where you are and help you, or we come to your home in your natural environment where you're most comfortable, so that we also see the environmental factors that might be making breastfeeding difficult. It might be your mother. It might be your you can read that environment until you can see if a mother is stressed and what might be stressing her. So people are finding ways around it, but again, still that human interaction has been really affected. But I think, so talk about breastfeeding support groups. Now people might have to meet over Zoom. And I mean, I can't tell the emotion in the room on the screen. I could, or someone has prepared themselves for the session, so they are not being as genuine or things like that, and all those things,
And muted.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
And all those things contribute to, a healthy breastfeeding relationship. Yesterday I was holding one of those dolls, and my daughter, who is almost 8, come and said, "Mommy, you have to teach me how to breastfeed my child when I have babies." She's 8. She's almost 8. Yes, because she knows that's what I do. So she said, "You have to teach me." Meaning, there is already going to be a good establishment between mother and daughter, grandchild. I have
Yeah.
found challenges with grandmothers and their grandchildren. There's something that happens to parents when their children are married and when their children have children. They become something else.
So my question is, when I brought up my 20-year-old, why did you, so as in I should start preparing myself when mine come?
Really, when they come, when they come,
Hey.
I already have
come.
one,
babies
so
come.
when the babies come, I should
be a supportive
Grandmother.
I
So
will
this
be.
discussion has to come to an end. Yes,
I will.
Angie, you're almost a grandma.
already am.
Almost. There you have it. You now know where you can get information. And if you want to commemorate this week, hey, go ask a friend who's just had a baby to head over to YouTube. Go to Bump Love UG, subscribe, hit that notification bell to make sure they watch every episode, because this is one of the most likely episodes they need to watch to help their breastfeeding process. And now that you know that, well, your breasts can save our planet, we're here to support you. And while we support you, we hope you can support yourself, because we now have Prudential supporting us in our children's education. Head over to www.prudential.ug to find out how you can secure your child's education for the future. Until next time, with love from Bump Love.